Do you know that the STCW course is mandatory for every seafarers? But most importantly, beginners don't get it. They don't know about the valid structure of the STCW course, the validity about it, the course fee about it. So I'm going to tell you in this video about the STCW course and break it down into the pieces to make you understand better so that you can start your merchant navy career the right way. So I am your host Siddhant Jain and welcome to your favorite channel Merchant Navy Guruji. Now let's understand from very basic what exactly is the STCW course is, right? So let's start with the full name here of the STCW. STCW is nothing but the standard of training, certification and the watchkeeping for seafarers. Now, this is a program, mandatory training program, which is designed to equip seafarers with the fundamental knowledge and the skill required to do safe operations at sea. Now, this course not only complies with International Maritime Organization standard, but it is also essential for anyone who is working on a commercial vessel ship or commercial vessel, because any commercial vessel you are working or any commercial vessel which is sailing in the sea comes under the merchant navy category. Now, this is also been mandated by DGS, the Directorate General of Shipping in India. We get integrated in every pre-sea training course what you do. Even it is integrated with GP rating, BSc Nautical, Diploma in Nautical Science, BTech Marine, and you name it. Every course, whatever you do is a pre-sea training course, is always get mandated and integrated with the STCW. Now, let's move forward with this. Now, let's understand why exactly you need to do STCW. Why exactly the STCW course is mandatory for all seafarers? You need to know the reasons why. First, it is mandatory for all seafarers because it is a global standard set by the International Maritime Organization to basically for anyone who is working on commercial vessels. That's what I told you, or who is working in the merchant navy. Because when you are going on a ship, which is a foreign going vessels, you need to meet the global standard, which has been set by the International Maritime Organization. Now, let's come to the second reason. The second reason is the ensuring the competency. Because after completion of the STCW course, it certifies that these seafarers is meeting the global standard for the safety and the emergency response, which is required for any safe operations at sea. Right? Now, let's talk about the third reason. Now, the third reason comes with preventing accidents. Now, you will say, how exactly this course prevents accident? I will tell you the reason why. Because when you see, there will be a lot of people, right? You will have the deck department, you will have the engine department, you will have the galley department. Now, this all forms a crew on the ship, right? So that actually everyone in the crew will have this situation handling thing. They will ensure that the crew can handle any situations like abandoning of ship, flooding, in case of flooding, in case of any emergency distress, or in case of, something like fire breakout, right? So, or anything which is medical emergency also, effectively, right? So, this was the third reason. Now, what is the fourth reason? Now, this applies to everyone who is in the deck department, engine department, galley department, or you name it. Right? Everyone has to do it because it's very important for all seafarers. That is why it's also mandatory now. Now, let's come to the last reason. So, without STCW, you will not get any offer letter, first of all. You will not even get any sailing experience, not even the CDC. So, think about this. These are the 5 reasons why the STCW course is mandatory for all seafarers. Now let's understand what are the type of STCW course. I know there will be people who may not know even what exactly is the STCW course, or even if they know STCW course, they don't know what are the type of STCW course are available, right? So I'm going to tell you briefly about the types of STCW course so that you can be very clear about what is going on here. Now let's talk about the very first course, okay? What we call is as the STCW Basic. Right, the BST course, the Basic Safety Training course, which is essential and mandatory for any person who is a new entrant to the merchant navy so that they can start their career in the merchant navy, right? This covers the core modules of the safety training, the basic safety training of the STCW. Now, the second one is the advanced STCW. Now, what it comes is the advanced is because this is like the advanced course, is specialized course for officers and especially for specific vessel types. Like let's talk about tankers, gas carriers, GMDSS, AFFF, right? Like this kind of tankers, right? Now talk about the third type is the refresher STCW. Now, refresher STCW is something which is mandatory for every 5 years to be done to update your skills and knowledge as per the STCW 2010 amendments. So now it gives you an overall idea what exactly is the basic one, what exactly is the advanced one, when to do advanced one, and the third one is the refresher one. Right? I will tell you even though that when exactly you need to do the refresher STCW course. So now you know that type of the STCW course. Since we are going to break down the STCW, we are going to talk about the STCW BST course, the basic safety training course, which is basically for beginners and for the new entries which are going to join the merchant navy, right? So I'm going to go for a detailed explanation of what exactly comprises of the basic safety training. Now it has the two parts. The first part has 4 modules, right? And the second part is something which is not so famous, but the people must know, right? Let's start with the first part, which covers the 4 modules. Now the first module is known as the PST, the Personal Survival Technique, which is a 3-day mandatory training program that teaches the procedures and the processes to follow at the time of distress for survival crafts and the survival boats, right? Second, life-saving appliances on lifeboats and rafts. Third, abandoning ship and survival at sea. If something happens to your ship, what will you do? How will you survive at sea? Maybe for days until a rescue operations is covered and to come to rescue you, right? And the last one is the pyrotechnics and their uses. Now, let's talk about the second module, the FPFF. Fire Prevention and Firefighting module, which is a 3-day mandatory training module that equips the seafarers with the knowledge and skills to prevent, the control and extinguish on fires on board ships. Now, this module covers fire prevention techniques, chemistry of fire, type of firefighting equipment, and emergency response. So, let's talk about the third module, which covers EFA, which is known as the EFA, Elementary First Aid. Now, this is a 2-day mandatory training module, which equips the seafarers with the first aid knowledge and the skills required to battle and handle any medical emergencies at sea in order to save your crew members. What happens if something uncertain happens on board on the ship and your crew member get injured or something becomes medically unfit? You should do the first aid thing, so that in order to save his life, his or her life at the moment, and until then, the rescue team comes and takes them to the hospital, right? So that's why any person who is covering this module will get the effective and immediate first aid knowledge in case of injuries and the medical incidents on board. Now, let's talk about the last module which is covered in this first part of BST is the PSSR, Personal Safety and Social Responsibility, which is a 4-day mandatory training module which is designed to familiarize seafarers with the safety procedures, emergency response, and shipboard working conditions. Now, this working condition is very mandatory. That's why this module covers accident preventions, safe working practices, emergency procedures, teamwork, pollution prevention, and social responsibilities on board, so that you know what you need to do and how exactly you need to work as a team when you are a part of a larger crew on any vessels when you're working in the merchant navy. Now, let's talk about the very unpopular part, that the second part of the BST STCW course. Now, the second part is not very popular with among any persons. So this second part is also known as ST, SD, SD. Now, okay, this is very, very confusing for you. Now, let me elaborate on this. Okay, so this second part is known as the security training for seafarers with the designated security duties. Now, this is something big. Let me explain it to you. So, this is a 2-day mandatory training program which is designed for seafarers assigned specific security related responsibilities on board ships. Now, it means to say is when something happens on set, who will be responsible? How will you act? What will your what will be your security responsibilities on board on the set, right? And this core module, which actually tells you about this, it provides you the necessary knowledge and skills to enhance the maritime security and respond to security threats effectively. Now, you are now, after all discussion of this STCW BST course, I think you already have now an idea of what exactly the STCW BST course, basic safety training course, which is mandatory for beginners, includes and covers. Now let's talk about the course duration. As you have seen when I told you it's a 4-day, it's a 3-day, it's a 3-day, it's a 2-day mandatory course. All right, you may have started calculating, oh, it's 4 days, 4 plus 3, 7, 7 plus 3, 10. Oh, let me tell you, don't worry. The course duration is from 15 to 20 days. Now, many of the people will be like saying, murmuring around after seeing my video that, no, it can be completed in 12 days. It can be completed in 13 days, 14, 15, 16, whatever the number you have. Well, I'm talking about the approximate number as the minimum as 15 days and the maximum for 20 days. In case, think of some colleges asking you to come and do the course, and some other times the batch start delays, right? So it may take another half day, another day or so. So that's why I'm giving you 15 to 20 days so that you can be prepared that if you're going to do the STCW course, you should be thinking and telling your family that I'll be coming within 15 to 20 days, even though some delays are there, right? So I'm taking the buffer for the delays also here. Okay. Now let's talk about the eligibility criteria for the STCW BST course, right? Basic safety training course. Now let's talk about the age limit. A person who has completed 17 and a half years or who is more older than 17 and a half years is eligible as per the age limit to do the STCW course, right? Now let's talk about the educational qualification, eligibility criteria for educational qualification. Now you must pass 10th, right? You should have a minimum qualification as the 10th pass, and then you will be eligible. Now let's talk about the medical requirement for this. So you should be must medically fit as per the International Maritime Organization standards, and you should also have a medical fitness certificate from a DGS approved doctor, which is required at the time of admission, right? And you should have the vision and hearing as per the required standards. Okay. Now let's talk about what are the documents you need to get prepared to do this STCW BST course. Now I'm going to get you a very consolidated list of any college, any university which is DGS approved. Okay, which is DGS approved is going to ask in order to take your admission into their STCW course. The first is the endorsed number. Second is the 10th mark sheet or the school living certificate. Third is the passport. Fourth is the Aadhaar card. Because you are in India, you must have Aadhaar card. Some of the times they will ask, some of the times they will not. But at the end, this is mandatory, one of the documents, right? And 2 passport size photos you must have prepared. The third is the fifth one is the COVID-19 vaccination certificate that you have been vaccinated with whatever the dosage it is. And if there is CDC, if it is available, you have to be there. I mean, CDC is basically for refresher course and the advanced STCW courses. You can just neglect it. But before, if you exclude the CDC, all the other things are mandatory documents, and you must have it in order to make sure that at the time of admission, if something is missing, you should not get delayed because of that. That is one of the reasons I'm telling you the consolidated list of documents, because maybe in some of the colleges, they may ask you very less number of documents. In some of the colleges, they will ask you a wide variety of documents. That is the part of admission process. I cannot comment on that, but I can tell you in general, these are the required documents you need to have, right? Now let's talk about what is the typical fee for the STCW basic safety training course, which is for the beginners, right? So I'm going to tell you a range. Now, there are will be contradictions, and there will be many confusion and many dilemmas will be there that why this man is telling about this range. Now, the minimum range for STCW course is 20,000 in Indian rupees, and 30,000 up to 30,000. It can go high as up to 30,000. Now, let's talk about 20,000 and 30,000, right? I'm talking about 20,000 at the minimum. right? Minimum you must pay 20,000 to do this STCW course, and maximum 30,000. Now, let's talk about, you see, when I told you about the contradiction, that's why I'm going to talk about what are the factors that actually influence this typical fee of STCW, right? So let's talk about the first factor. Okay. Now, the first factor is very different DGS approved institutes, right? Many different DGS approved institutes, they set their own prices. Now, they set their own prices because of two things. First, their reputation. Their reputation is very high in the market, and that's why they say the quality of the education or the training I'm going to give you is very, very high or something like that. That's why it differs, right? So sometimes they will, ask you to pay 30,000 rupees. That can be there. Now, the other factor is the location. So when you are doing this STCW course, maybe in Chennai, but the other person is doing in Kochi, the whole those things will vary. Why? Because some of the times the training modules and the accommodation or the food, it can vary. When it is inclusive, it can vary with the cities itself. In the which cities you are, right? If you are doing in Chennai, it may be bit bit expensive. But when you are doing in Kochi, it may be bit less cheaper. Let's say, right? Now let's talk about the other factors, hostel and fee accommodation. Some of the time, what happens when I told you the maximum of this as a 30,000 rupees. Why? Because some of the time the hostel fee, materials, and the mess and the food itself is inclusive, right? So when it is included, it can go as high as 30,000. Whereas if it is 20,000, that means it is not at all included. Now comes the very different part. And that's a very, very humongous part, I will say very little part. And that is a digital certificate. So some of the times the college may ask you to pay 42 rupees and 50 paisa higher. Why? Because of a digital certificate you will be needing at the end of the course completion, right? Now, the last part is the hidden charges. Some of the times when you think like this college is giving me in the cheaper price to get this STCW course, right? The course fee is very, very cheap as 20K. But some of the times you need to understand there will be hidden charges because you need to pay for hidden charges as uniform, medical, and the exam fee. Maybe it will be different and it will be excluded from the course fee itself, right? So I think in the overall situation, it comes to exactly at the point that you should inquire about these things at the time of admissions from wherever the colleges you want to do the STCW course. Now, let's talk about the validity of STCW BST certificate, right? So the STCW BST certificate is valid for 5 years. Now, what happens is this STCW certificate expires. This is where the refresher STCW course comes up. Because as per the amendment STCW 2010, any person who has been there, who has done this STCW course, the basic STCW course, and after 5 years, he must do this refresher STCW course in order to comply with the 2010 amendment of the STCW. Because after 5 years, when the STCW course certificate expires, the validity expires, you must do this refresher course in order to update your skills and the knowledge for the safety purposes. Now, this gives you all the information about what exactly you need to do, how much is the course fee, you have understood all these things. Now, let's talk about what are the common mistakes and the scam is going on in the market in the name of the STCW. Let's talk about first of all STCW, fake STCW certificates, right? So fake STCW certificates comes in the play when you are doing the courses from the colleges which are not DGS approved. See, if it is not DGS approved, the person or the college which is providing you the STCW course is not going to give you a particular thing that it is approved from the DGS, and it will not even be valid. If you go for any RPSL company, they will say you, oh man, I don't know this company. I don't know this college. Where did you do it from? I only take people or candidates who have done this course from a DGS approved institute or college or maritime training institution, right? So the second part comes up that when you come to agents, right? Some of the agents will be charging you extra that they will saying no, we will take 1 lakh rupees, we will take you 2 lakh rupees. They will say this because 2 lakh rupees is the normal or typical fee of a GP rating course, which I'm not going to explain it here. You want it, you can go and check out on my channel about the GP rating course. You can get a lot of detail on this video. But they tell you that, this I'm going to get you admission in the GP rating course, but what you get is the STCW basic course. They will get you done in within a month, not in 15 to 20 days. They will expand it. They will just try to stretch it to a month or a month and a half so that you can feel like you have done the GP rating course. But in general, what I'm going to tell you is that is a scam and fraud which you should not be getting into. Because now you know what exactly is the STCW course, what are the module it covers, and how much the typical course fee it is. So when agents comes to you, they ask you 1.5 lakhs, 2 lakhs for doing the STCW course, and what are the modules, what are the course duration, you can easily get of this idea that, oh, this man is trying to get me into a trap for a scam or doing a fraud, right? So you can get these things very clearly. And the other thing is, there is some online STCW myths. The online STCW myth says anyone who is completing the STCW course will never get the job. Oh man, this is not true. If this was true, then why did the DGS will have the STCW course in India in the first place? Even why did the International Maritime Organization standards will have this in the first place in any country, which will having this candidate joining it from their country into the merchant navy sector itself, right? Didn't you ask this question? Let me, bust this online myth first of all. This is no such thing. The only such thing is that you will have this certification from the DGS approved institute and you will get the job as well, using the STCW certificate after the completion, if you try for it, right? This is not something that you will not get job after doing the STCW course, right? Now let's move on to the final summary, or let's say the conclusion part. So in my opinion, first of all, if you ask me who needs to do this STCW course, now the very first thing is the candidates who just wanted to start their career in the merchant navy and they don't have a that kind of financial stability, first of all, and they have a very like a very big gap in their education and then the job thing. They can do their this STCW course to start their career in the merchant navy. Now when to do this? When you are financially unstable, when your age is bypassed, like let's say it's 28 years or you are of the 30 years age, you can do this STCW course and you can start your career. The only thing I'm going to tell you that when you do this STCW course, it's not like that your pay will be high as someone who is getting, someone who is at officer level is getting something like that. It will not be. You cannot compare when you are doing STCW course with someone who has done the BSc nautical course. That is not valid way. Okay, so you should not compare this. When you do this STCW course, you can get a decent amount of salary. Also, when you get onto any vessels or when you get onto any job in the merchant navy. Okay, and see, one more thing is that, see, when I'm trying to give you this kind of information, I would like you to ask only one thing, that support me as much as you can, so that I can give you honest reviews and this all information, this honest and brutal information about scam, courses, vacancies, and all those things. So if you like this video, like it, share it with your friends, other seafarers, other seafarer aspirants, and anyone whom you know that should know that what STCW course is, or whom it can be deluded with the scams and the job vacancies or the job fraud which is going in the market nowadays. Okay, and subscribe this channel for the genuine merchant navy knowledge and info about vacancies, courses, and other scams which is going into the market. Thanks for watching.